The story begins by showing a man named Nuimek, but most people just call him Make. He's at the airport, super frustrated because he's been waiting ages for his plane ticket. The person who brought him his plane ticket was late, even though he had been waiting at the airport for quite a long time. When he finally arrives, Make tells him to allow him to get his own ticket next time. He wasn't too excited about the trip in the first place, especially when he found out that his flight was using a Thai Airways plane. The man said that his boss wanted Make to have a comfortable journey. Make left annoyed, while asking that next time ask him first before buying a flight ticket. The reason why Make doesn't want to fly using Thai Airways is because of his ex-girlfriend, Playfa, who was a flight attendant at the airline. Back in the day, Make met up with Fa at a cafe. She had a drink in front of her, but the ice was all melted. Make asked why she hadn't drunk it. Fa replied that she had been waiting, and now it was his. Make then showed off a book he'd been working on, the London Guidebook. Fa, his girlfriend at the time, thought it was pretty cool. She mentioned she was a bit jealous because she'd love to see London too. Make promised they'd go together someday, but Fa was a bit skeptical. She said it might be tough since she's working now, and she didn't want to rush it. She wanted a real vacation. Fast forward to the present. Make's walking to the waiting room at the airport and spots a flight attendant. He doesn't see her face, but he just knows it's Fa. Seeing Playfa totally sends Make down memory lane, back to that cafe chat with Fa. They had a bit of a tiff there. Fa was super excited about being a flight attendant. She can work and travel at the same time, but Make even says her opinion about the flight attendant's job, which makes Fa annoyed. Make was all concerned because this job would mean Fa's always traveling. He's the protective type, worrying about her safety and all, but Fa's desire to achieve her dream job is very big. She still registered and successfully passed the selection to become a flight attendant for Thai Airways. The next day, Fa sneaks off to a training class and Makes clueless about it. But then, while chilling on his laptop, he discovers that Fa got the job and isn't training. He's bummed out because she kept it from him. Make decides to pop by the training center to surprise Fa, but he spots her laughing it up with some dude. Fa tries to explain but Make's not having any of it. He just bounces. Back home, they're both kind of frosty. Fa becomes emotional, hugs Make, and apologizes for not sharing her plans about pursuing her dream. She's put in a lot of effort to get where she is. The real reason Fa didn't spill the beans to Make about her job, because she figured he'd be totally against it. Make, on hearing this, loses his cool and yells. In his mind, he's always had her back, supporting all her dreams and letting her chase her career goals. Fa responds by stating she was understanding when Make worked a lot, but she also has her own dreams to pursue and puts him on the spot to choose. The next morning, Fa heads to the main office looking like she's made up her mind. Her friend, Sun, advises her to reconsider as her dream is close to being realized. Meanwhile, whatever Fa said seemed to hit Make hard. He tells a work friend that he's going to ditch writing his current book. His friend advises him to reconsider because the office requires the book for an event, and it relates to his dream job. He urges him to consider how this might affect everyone else. After chatting with his friend, Make gets lost in thought, staring at a mini airplane. Later, Fa storms in with a suitcase in hand. Make, a bit shocked, asks what's up. Through tears, Fa tells him she's made her choice. She's chasing her dream and leaving him behind. Now, back to the present. Make's trying to relax in a swanky VIP waiting room. But three aunts walk in and can't stop gushing over how fancy everything is. Make's clearly annoyed by the noise but keeps his cool. A brave young girl, turns out she's related to one of the aunts, tells them to hush. Make, having had enough, heads for the exit. On his way out, he bumps into a teen named Pat Ah, who's frantically searching for his lost grandma. Pat Ah quickly says sorry and goes on with his search. So Make invited Pat Ah to report it to the information department. Luckily, they find her pretty quick. Pat Ah's all thankful to Make for the help. Meanwhile, Playfa's getting an earful from her boss for being late on her very first flight. Seems like one of her senior coworkers isn't her biggest fan either. Soon, all the flight crew gets into position. Playfa's by the cabin door, greeting everyone. Little does she know, she and Make are on the same plane. But when Make hops on board, Playfa's busy helping Pat Ah and his grandma settle in. As the plane takes to the skies, the girl Make met back in the waiting room seems super nervous. She's clinging to her seat for dear life. Pat Ah checks in with her, and she just grabs his hand, still freaked out. Pat Ah just smiles at her. Playfa got a real shock when she realized the passenger she'd spilled water on was none other than Make. Both of them were kind of frozen, not knowing what to say. The head flight attendant stepped in, giving Playfa a bit of a scolding. But Make was chill, saying everything was okay. To make up for it, they bumped Make up to business class. Those three aunts from the waiting room caught wind of the upgrade and turned green with envy. They hatched a plan to get bumped up too. With Make now in business class, the head flight attendant told Playfa to take special care of him. One of Playfa's coworkers gave her a snarky look and started whispering about the whole thing, but her friend just rolled her eyes and walked off. Meanwhile, Grandma was concerned because her niece wasn't eating anything on the flight. But Pat just stripped it off, telling her not to worry. Pat kept sneaking peeks at the girl sitting nearby. She seemed lost in her music, gazing out the window. Meanwhile, those three aunts were up to their tricks again. One of them spilled her drink on purpose, hoping for an upgrade to business class. But the head flight attendant wasn't falling for it and just handed her a tissue. Unsatisfied, the aunt pushed for a seat upgrade. However, they got some extra snacks instead. The next aunt, dressed in purple, was already plotting her move, confident she'd outsmart them. Throughout the flight, Grandma kept bugging the young girl, asking if she was sure she didn't want to eat since it was a long journey. The girl kept declining, but always in a polite way. Trying to help out, Pat jumped in saying, "Girls can be picky sometimes." But every so often, the girl would sneak a smile Pat's way, especially when she noticed how close he was with his grandma. Playfa brought Make his meal, and he wondered if there was any choice other than fish. She explained that the only other option was chicken, but she remembered that Make didn't like chicken, so she brought him fish. This surprised Make. He didn't think Playfa would still remember such a detail. Feeling a bit awkward, Playfa said she'd get some water, but came back with apple juice. Make gave a knowing smile, remembering their shared past. Playfa, a bit flustered, quickly excused herself. After she left, one of Playfa's senior colleagues approached Make, offering him tea or coffee, and mentioned that she loved tea. Make wasn't interested. Meanwhile, those mischievous aunts were at it again, acting like they were freezing from the AC. Even though Playfa offered them blankets, they dramatically turned her down. The head flight attendant stepped in once more, allowing them to change seats, but they were moved to the back of economy class since it was warmer there, not the business class they were aiming for. Those three aunts were at it again, this time pretending they couldn't breathe well. Just as Playfa was about to help with an inhaler, they dashed for the business class, but the head flight attendant wasn't having it. She told them they could upgrade, but they'd have to pay extra. The aunts pointed at Make, asking why he got a free upgrade. That's when Make showed them his ticket. He was a business class passenger all along. Feeling embarrassed, the aunts went back to their seats. Because of this drama, the head flight attendant scolded Playfa again. Her senior colleague grumbled, saying that's why she didn't like working with newbies. They just added to the stress. From his seat, Make watched Playfa with a concerned look, thinking back to their shared memories. He remembered when Playfa had once said she was jealous of birds and wished she could work in the sky. Make once joked with Fa about her becoming a window cleaner for tall buildings if she wanted to be closer to the sky. Fa, playing along, pretended to clean Make's face like it was a window. Later, she brought him a blanket, and he curiously asked why she was always so caring. Before she could respond, a guy friend of Fa's showed up. This was the same guy Make had seen with her before. The guy apologized for being too busy to help Fa earlier. Memories flooded back for Make of the day Fa left him, and he remembered seeing this guy waiting outside for her. Make's face said it all. He was not pleased and was pretty jealous. Meanwhile, Grandma was right. The girl sitting next to her finally felt hungry. Pat chuckled as the girl clutched her tummy. Kindly, Grandma suggested giving her some of their bread. Later, when Fa brought snacks to Make, he threw in a comment about her new boyfriend, hinting at the guy friend. Fa thanked him for the concern, but cheekily told Make maybe he should worry about his own new partner instead. Make and Fa had a big mix-up. On the day Fa was thinking about putting her dreams on hold, she spotted a woman leaving Make's room. This pushed her to end things with Make. Meanwhile, when Make tried to catch up with Fa, he saw her with another guy. She had picked love over her dreams, but it just hurt her in the end. Meanwhile, the three aunts gave up on getting to business class, but they decided to make the most of the flight. They began pestering Fa for every little thing: blankets, pillows, water, and even extra meals. The head flight attendant noticed and, out of frustration, told Fa to just give them all the food. He wasn't really mad at the aunts, but rather upset with Fa for not managing them better. The head flight attendant wasn't too pleased with Fa. He told her that just looking good isn't enough to be a flight attendant, and that maybe this job wasn't right for her. He even told her to consider quitting since others might be more committed. Later, when Fa was by herself, Make came over. He saw she was upset and asked if this was the dream job she had in mind. Fa tried to keep her composure, saying she shouldn't let passengers see her like this. She tried to walk away, but Mick reminded her that she was supposed to serve him. He handed her a handkerchief, the same one she had used in a playful moment with him before. It surprised her that he kept it. Mick was curious about why she wanted to be a flight attendant, but Fa just walked away without answering. The scene shifted to Pat Ah and Grandma. Pat Ah reminded Grandma to take her medicine, but she said she felt fine and didn't need it. The girl sitting beside them was curious about their trip to Japan. Pat Ah shared that he wanted to see his mom, while the girl mentioned she was only going because of her aunt. Grandma complimented the girl, comparing her kindness to Pat Ah's for looking after older family members. Grandma felt the urge to use the restroom and wanted to take her medicine afterward, but as she stood up, she got dizzy. Fa quickly stepped in to help her sit down, trying to calm her with gentle conversation. Mick and the head flight attendant observed this from a distance, both smiling. Once Grandma drifted off to sleep, Pat Ah made sure she was comfortable. The girl emphasized the importance of getting Grandma medical attention once they landed. She admitted she was inspired by Pat Ah's care and felt she should be more attentive to her own troublesome aunt. As the plane began its descent, Fa told Mick she needed to return to her duties. She wished him a good time in Japan. Mick wanted to say something more to her, but the seatbelt sign was on, so everyone had to stay seated. He then jotted down his thoughts in his diary. Among all his experiences, he realized he was still deeply in love with the same person. Once they touched down in Tokyo, everyone began to leave the plane. Mick waited, taking his time. He and Fa exchanged a long look, both wanting to say something. However, with the head flight attendant nearby, they just shared a silent moment before Mick finally walked away. Turns out the aunt's nephew was named Freo. After parting ways, Pat Ah and Freo swapped contact info. Freo then went to her aunts, who were busy taking selfies. She gently reminded them to be on their best behavior since they were in a foreign land. It was a softer approach than her previous outbursts. Mick realized he'd forgotten his diary on the plane. At the info desk, they said they hadn't found it. He then reflected on his travels. Even though he'd seen so many amazing places, those experiences felt empty. He wished he could share those moments with someone special. A beautiful sight just isn't the same without a loved one to share it with. The scene shifts and we find Fa walking into a restaurant. Turns out Mick was there too. She explains that she's staying nearby and had seen this place in one of Mick's guidebooks. She then pulled out Mick's diary from her bag. He thought it was lost for good, but actually Fa found it and guessed it was Mick's, so she held on to it. Mick's got a habit of leaving things behind. He asked Fa if she was free after dinner, but before she could reply, a bad friend of hers walked in and called out to her. Mick then brushed off his earlier question, thanked Fa for the diary, and left. While wandering in the park, thinking about his next book, Mick spotted the guy who was always with Fa. But this time, the guy was holding hands with a different woman. That's when it clicked for Mick. That guy wasn't dating Fa. He rushed back to the restaurant hoping to see Fa, but she was gone. Fast forward a week. Mick was flying back to Thailand with the same airline, hoping to see Fa. But she wasn't working that day. He thought maybe she'd switched flights, but she'd actually switched roles. From a flight attendant, she'd become a regular passenger. Mick was caught off guard when Fa walked up to him, asking if she could sit beside him. She had come across his diary, and inside, she found pictures of them together. Plus, there was a heartfelt note from Mick, confessing he still loved her dearly. And just like that, the two rekindled their love. They went on to explore the world side by side, ending the movie on a high note. Moral lesson from the story is love, and second chances can heal deep hurts, and sometimes taking a break helps you see the real worth of your bond.